Hi everyone, I'm Dan, and welcome back to the Rock Nerd Radio Show here on YouTube. The new Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure Zabu wave is here, and with it is a new Cable figure. I have owned a lot of Cable figures in my time as a collector. The original Toy Biz X-Force Cable figure was a figure that I had. I had the second edition Cable in the Deep Space armor. I had the third edition Cable, who was like Rocket Rapid Fire or something. I had the cyborg version of Cable, who's half his face came off and skin on his arm came off to reveal the TO virus. I had the Marvel Universe Cable. I have had both versions of the Toy Biz Cable, the regular and the variant. I've had the Walmart exclusive Hasbro Cable, and now, most recently, I have three versions of Cable from the Hasbro Marvel Legends line. I have the one as he appears in the original X-Force comic. I have that one as he appears in the Sanction X comic. And now I have this Cable, who is kind of a mid-90s vibe, as well as a certain video game that the Marvel Legends team wouldn't say on air, but I'm going to say it, Marvel vs. Capcom, why not? So today, we are going to take a look at three Cable figures to see if we can determine which version is indeed the best Cable figure. Come geek out with us on the Rock Nerd Radio Show. So like I normally do when I do a which is better figure comparison, I talk about the paint and overall appearance of the figures for my first round. And here are the three Cable figures that we are looking at today. We are looking at the Juggernaut Wave Cable, we are looking at the Sasquatch Wave Cable, and the Zabu Wave Cable. All three official Cable figures. I did mention all the Cable figures I own in that intro. I forgot to make mention of the fact that I do own the Deadpool 2 movie Cable. He's just not being compared with these because I'm sticking to the comic book versions this time. Looking at the Juggernaut Wave Cable. First off, this is the most recent style of Cable figure that we have. And one thing that I love about this Cable figure is they have like this cyborg face going on, which was correct and relevant to how he appeared in this comic. I really like that look. As a kid, I had the cyborg Cable figure, and it was really cool to be able to take the skin off his face to reveal the cybernetic detail on his face, the techno-organism virus that was there. And it looked really cool. So I really like this head sculpt. I also really like how the hair is kind of short. I like the scarring on the face. Let me bring it in a little closer so you can see it. Even though it is painted, it does look very cool. And I like the this X tattoo that he has on his arm, which really only appeared in this story. I feel like we haven't seen that tattoo since. But this is a pretty neat looking Cable. The armor is sculpted very nice. The cybernetic arm has very like thin, tightly, sculpted lines on it. The hand looks really cool with having like the almost like a, I don't know, metal glove as well, that as part of it, but also reflecting over here as well, how he's wearing the same gloves on both hands. Nicely sculpted straps on the legs, and cool little like shin guard detail as well. And just to point out too, the metal is also going up his neck. So the TO virus is also going up that way. So that looks really cool. Pretty neat appearance for a pretty modern day Cable. The middle Cable that we have to talk about is, of course, the Sasquatch Wave Cable. This is Cable as he appeared in those early X-Force days when I fell in love with the character and with that comic. This Cable, of course, has the nice like X pouch necklace thing, but it's not sculpted in. This is a loose piece that you can take on and off, so it does have the tendency to flop around a little bit. The harness as well is loose. It's not keyed in, which has, good and bad points to it, but I like how it has all the bullets around here, like, weapon, like they're storage for weapons. They're nice pouches, which Cable was known for having. Pouches on the legs as well. And looking at the two Cables, these are the same upper legs, I want to say. I want to say they are the same upper legs, but not the same lower legs. So you can kind of see on these sides with the matching pouches, if they want to focus. There we go. So some part reuse there. The metal arm on here, the TO arm, it doesn't look like it's flowing as well. They're just kind of like straight cut lines across it. I don't mind it, but one thing that I do want to point out, first off, I love that there's weapon storage for his big gun on his back as well. But one thing that I do want to point out with the head is, while I like this very classic head style, and I like that there's his eye flaring here, the scars on the eye aren't as apparent. And maybe you can argue it that it's a younger version, so they're not quite as clear. Can I get that to focus a little better? There we go. Like, they're there. I want to say they are sculpted as opposed to just painted like that one, so that is nice. But I'm not the biggest fan of the earpiece thing on him. You know, like the, I don't know, walkie-talkie antenna, whatever you want to call it. It's cool, but I almost would have preferred that that wasn't there. Now, looking at our newest cable figure, the Zabu Wave cable figure, there is a comic influence here because he wore a similar costume in the mid to late 90s. But this is definitely taken from the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 video game, and we're going to be talking about that as we go. But it looks really cool with the harness, and I like the way that they did the harness down here, where there's a little piece going up, but that way, like when he moves at his joints, it doesn't look broken up. It looks like it's still a connected harness, and you know, when you turn his waist too, everything stays connected, which is neat. The pouches on the legs are keyed in. And, you know, the knee pads look great. There is no weapon storage on this one. Not that all of these have had weapon storage, but just to say it. The arm on this one, there's something just about the arm, the TO arm, where the cybernetics almost look a little too, like, spaced out, like the metal lines here. I'm not quite sure what it is. There's something about it that's not sitting well with me. But in terms of the head, since I keep looking at the head, I think this one has the nicest looking scar detail on the face. Has the power flare again there, and has the hair, which is very accurate to how he looked in both the video game and the mid 90s. So really, I have to figure out which one of these has the best paint and overall appearance. And this is a tough call because Cable is one of my favorite characters, and I would take literally any version of Cable that the Hasbro team wants to give us. But in terms of best appearance, my personal kind of favorite thing that I've liked, I love when Cable has the cybernetic TO detail on his face as well as his arm. So I'm going to give my round one overall appearance and paint to the Juggernaut Wave Cable because I really like that head sculpt on him. For round two, we are looking at the articulation of these figures. And this Cable has your pretty standard Marvel Legends articulation. Starting with the arms, they of course go all the way around, and they go up about this far. That is on both arms as well. We do have a nice rotation up here at the shoulder, double jointed elbows, and at the hands, we have, the gun kind of gets in the way, but they do rotate and they go in and out left and right like that. Looks pretty cool, you know, pretty standard for what you'd expect a Marvel Legends to have. At the head, it's on a ball joint, so he can, the collar piece kind of gets in the way, but he can look up and down a little bit. It's more so at the ball that you're having more movement on this one, so of course left and right, and a little bit of wiggle waggle in there. In terms of the body, this body is on, I forget what they call it, the dumbbell joint or something, so this one can really get into some cool positions. Like he can kind of crouch and go left and right, and then there is a lower cut down here at the stomach as well, so you could really get this Cable into a variety of positions, which all look pretty darn cool in my opinion. In terms of the legs, of course, they go up and they go out. They go back a little bit too, but not a crazy amount. Double jointed knee. No real thigh cut, but of course rotation up here. You know, I'm sorry, there is thigh cut, but no boot cut. That's what I meant to say. Ankles, of course, pivot back or rock and go back and forth. And it kind of, you know, like this part, the shin guard kind of stops you from going too far forward with it, but you do get some nice backwards bend in there. So that is the Juggernaut Wave Cable. We're going to just kind of stick him in the back for a moment. Let's look at the Sasquatch Wave Cable. Now, this Cable has everything that I just went over. The head does have a little more movement to it because this neck piece is, you know, it's not stuck in position, so you can move the head a little more. In terms of the hands, just to point out, these don't really inhibit, as the big gun falls off, these don't really inhibit the way his arm moves, which is nice. And, you know, even with the gloves, like, you still get good hand movement. So, you know, not exactly a bad thing. I do want to say that he does have boot cut. So everything coming down is pretty much the same in terms of how he can kick out and move his legs. But there is boot cut here. So he does have a little bit nicer movement in the head and legs. In terms of the body, he does have, of course, the forward and back crunch, and because these are soft goods, they kind of allow you to move easily, but they do kind of get a little funky if you're moving them too much a little bit. And you know, there is waste here, so not the worst. Honestly, a little bit better in terms of legs than my first Juggernaut Wave cable, but still, you know, maybe not the best form of articulation. I'm gonna just repose him real quick so that I have him just ready to go to stand back here. Now we're going to look at the Zaboo Wave cable, and this cable, really there's nothing inhibiting his movements. Has everything else that all these other guys have. You know, you can look way up and way down. Head's on a ball joint, so it does move around quite easily. A little bit of wiggle there as well. Of course, like I said, ab crunch, rotation, arms go around, arms go up. You know, everything you've come to expect. There is no butterfly joint. I know a lot of the recent figures have had butterfly joints here. He doesn't have them. This arm is not pinless. This arm is, just to point that out. In terms of the legs, they can go up and they can go out, maybe a little more than the others, but they can't go up as much. So there is that double jointed knee and twist up here at the thigh, but double jointed knee, like I said. There is a boot cut, always welcome, ankle and foot. So yeah, he is pretty articulated. So really, what this comes down to is, what do some have that the others don't? And this one, in my opinion, because he doesn't have the boot cut, he's missing that, but he's got a lot of movement in the upper body, which I think is very, very important. But this one then has more movement in the foot, or, you know, with the boot cut, and his leg does kick out a little more. This one, his legs don't go up quite as much. I guess it matters what kind of extreme pose you're putting them in. For this cable, maybe he doesn't need it, but for this one, maybe he does, because he's more of that like video game type. Maybe you want him jumping around fighting Iron Man or something. This is kind of a tough call to make, but I'm going to give the second round to the Sasquatch Wave classic version of cable. As usual, my third round is about the accessories that these figures come with, and this Juggernaut Wave cable does come with two relatively large blasters. In fact, he's fallen over a couple of times while I've been filming this, but they're kind of flat. Like, if you look at them really, like, from the top, these are very, very thin blasters. You know, I get that he's from the future, and things in the future might be different, but they're very thin. He does have the option to hold this one with two hands, and then maybe you just kind of dish this one. But this was, in my opinion, before Hasbro kind of mastered having good, solid weapon-holding hands with these figures. Because, like, these guns kind of sit a little funny in Cable's hands. Like, they're making an effort, they're trying, but, like, you know, like, if you want this one to be straight, you kind of got to angle his arm kind of weird. And this one, like, kind of having a hard time like posing it around, because the stock should be under his elbow or something. But so they're nice weapons, they're just very thin, and I feel like that definitely makes a difference when you're looking at Cable. The Sasquatch Wave cable comes with this little blaster, which looks good. It has some nice detail in it, as you can see. Not quite as thin as the other version's blasters. But then, of course, there is this giant blaster on his back. And I'm going to take it off real quick, because there is a peg here for weapon storage. There's a hole there, as you can see. And this is like the kind of quintessential Cable blaster that you would probably expect him to come with. You know, this is straight out of the 90s. It is a nice, big, long, heavy weapon. But great detail here with like scratches on the gun, you know, on both sides of the barrel there. Just really cool. And there is a hole here that you can stick blast effect into if you really want to. So really, really neat. I like to keep this one kind of strapped on his back, because I feel like it, you know, it just looks good that he has that backup weapon while holding this one. And just, yeah, a really solid weapon for Cable. In terms of our new Zaboo Wave cable, like, there's no getting around that. As time went on, Cable's guns got a little smaller before people kind of got them to be large again. So these are respectable looking blasters. They are nicely detailed. This is actually the same as this one, just done up in silver and black. So he does come with the same one twice. And then there's a smaller one. I want to say we saw this one with the X-Men 97 Bishop. I think this is a reuse of that, again, repainted in a silver. But it is nice because this Cable also has two alternate hands. So there is a fist for the left hand, and there is a open hand for the right hand. I'm sorry, this is left hand. The fist is right hand. So you do have nice display options with him. But for a character like Cable, like I want him holding these weapons. So yeah, I'm gonna have him holding these just because that's kind of what I expect Cable to be doing, is holding blasters. It's nice to have extra hands, but in this case, I don't think he really needs them. So which one comes with the best accessories? Well, in my opinion, it is going to be our Sasquatch Wave classic version of Cable, not just because of the blasters he comes with, but because, as I mentioned, the shoulder pads and the neck piece, these are separate pieces. So if you wanted to kind of do like a bare bones Cable, you could. And this is a kind of a slightly customized version of Cable with the Juggernaut Wave head, and also wearing a Captain America shield, because that happened in the comics once. Having the big cannon, but without all the shoulder pads and the neck pieces. And if you want to know what I did with the shoulder pads and neck pieces, well, I'm so glad you asked. I gave him to a spare Deadpool I had. Because why wouldn't his buddy would sometimes want to wear his armor? I really like the look of this. So moving my two customized figures aside a little bit, I am going to give my third round to the Sasquatch Wave Cable, because there's a lot of different display options with him, and he has the best Cable blasters in my opinion. My fourth round is about the price and availability of these figures, and man, I'm having some real nostalgia here, because when this Cable came out in the Juggernaut Wave, Marvel Legends cost about $20. I would love to pay that now. I know the $25 price increase isn't terrible, but it does make a difference if you're buying a whole wave. So as much as I would have loved to be paying $25 or $20 for figures now, it's just the reality of it. We're paying $25. This Cable, however, will set you back anywhere between $26 to $38, depending where you look and if you're getting him loose or opened. You know, not much above what a current Legend goes for if you're getting an open one, but you know, going a little higher to that $38 if you're going for like a brand new one. Again, I get all my info from Action Figure 411, so your mileage may vary. Moving him back and bringing out the Sasquatch Wave Cable, I think this has been a lot of people's definitive Cable for quite some time. When he came out, he was also at the $20 price tag. However, now this one goes for anywhere between $37 to $58. So bit of a higher price tag because people really want him. I'm sure that with his appearance in X-Men 97, especially because he showed up like this, you know, in this style originally, people are looking for this one. So a little bit higher. The Zabu Wave Cable, as I mentioned, now retails for $25. By the end of X-Men 97, bit of a spoiler here, but he does kind of look like this. He has a bare arm with some like weapon pouches on it. So not quite what we get in X-Men 97, but pretty close. So this might be in demand, but he is in stores right now. He goes for about $25. I do know for a fact that at the moment of this video, it is June 1st of 2024, Target is having a sale on Marvel Legends, so you might be able to get this guy for like $17, I want to say they're going for. Keep an eye out, because people are finding it. I know people are also finding him at GameStop. Hasbro Pulse had him. I'm sure he's on Amazon. So you have options here. At this moment, in the recording of this video, there's no reason to pay more than like $25 for this Cable. Maybe you can get him loose without the Zabu Build-A-Figure part, and maybe you'll get him even less. So, with all that said, I have to give our new Zabu Wave Cable the win for round 4. He's just going to be your cheapest option at the moment. My last round on which is better is about the display compatibility of your Cable figure. We're going to look at the Juggernaut Wave Cable figure first. And, you know, when Cable was in this costume, it was right before Avengers vs. X-Men, around that time. So he would pair well with characters like Hope, if you have Hope. Now, I got to say, Hope really needs an update. Mine can barely stand anymore. But, you know, there's Hope holding a similar blaster to Cable. Of course, he did pal around with some X-Force characters. at this time. So there's the X-Force Wolverine from the Sasquatch wave, or Wendigo wave, one of those waves. So he does look cool with modern representation of characters. He does fit in well, and he is taller than these characters. One thing that has been pointed out a lot recently is Cable's height. He is about 6'8" in the comics, so he should be bigger than these characters. He looks pretty good. It's really going to depend on the display you're going for. So aside from this Cable, obviously we have to look at the other Cables and who they pair well with. So I'm going to clear this, and we're going to look at the Sasquatch Wave Cable to see who he pairs well with. So here's my classic original X-Force Cable, standing here looking cool. And just to put him with some original X-Force characters, here he is with probably my second favorite X-Force character, Shatterstar, and with Domino. Looking really good. I like how I just realized I have Domino and Cable holding their guns in the same kind of position. But here's how these characters look together, and in my opinion, they look great. If you were building out an X-Force team, you're probably going to want this Cable if you're building out that original 90s kind of X-Force. Now, of course, on my shelf, I have Cannonball and Richter and Sunspot and Boom Boom and Siren. We need a Feral. Hasbro, are you listening? I really want Feral. But this is going to complete that team look. This is going to look like it is straight out of the early 90s. And I really like that. But we have one more Cable to look at, of course. That is the Zabu Wave Cable. So let's see who he might pair nicely with. Looking at our Zabu Wave Cable, I don't really know what characters I could really stick him with. By the time he's wearing this costume, X-Force is in different color costumes. And sometimes he kind of pairs with the X-Men. Maybe you could take a character like Maggot, that's like that later era 90s X-Men, or maybe you could take someone like Nate Gray, his alternate reality younger self. They look pretty good together. As I mentioned though, this is more of that costume based on the Marvel vs. Capcom games, so maybe you want to stick him with Iron Man and War Machine as they appeared in those video games. Of course, this is more the comic influenced one, but this War Machine is totally right out of that video game because he never wore this in the comics. So, it would pair well if you're doing a Marvel vs. Capcom shelf. I know there are some really nice Street Fighter figures coming out. I forget the company, but I've seen them. They look awesome. Maybe they're going to pair well together. Maybe you want to create a whole fight scene for Marvel vs. Capcom. So with that said, you have to ask yourself, which one displays best? I think most people, if you're building out an X-Force shelf, you're going to want to go with this Cable, the Sasquatch Wave one. This is like that quintessential X-Force Cable. It looks really cool, and it's going to go with the rest of that early 90s team. Again, nothing wrong with either of these, and I happen to be a crazy person who owns every Cable figure and has multiple X-Men displays. So while I'm going to keep all of them, if you're building that X-Force one, this might be the quintessential Cable for you. So round 5 goes to the Sasquatch Wave Cable. Just looks the best with, in my opinion, some other characters of the era. So there we have it. While all of these Cable figures look really cool, the Sasquatch Wave Cable is going to win out on this edition of Which Is Better. He ended up having 3 wins in total, as opposed to everybody took a round, but as opposed to the other 2 who just had 1. One thing I kind of wanted to play with before we wrap up today. I was really curious to see how head swapping would work on these figures. So if maybe you wanted to do like a cyborg kind of Cable, you can pop off this Cable's head, and I'm wondering how well this Cable's head is going to fit. So let's see if I stick this on. Oh, okay, good. It's a tight fit. It doesn't look bad. Oh, I might need to buy a second Cable. This actually looks really good on this. It's a little loose, but it will fit. It'll look good. So that actually looks really cool. So if you wanted to do like that cyborg Cable look, you could. I'm actually surprised we've never gotten a Cable figure that had alternate heads, or even a Cable with a beard, because he did sport a beard for a little bit in the comics. But this might be an idea for a custom, or maybe I put a bare arm on here as well. But if you wanted to see how the new Cable head fits, it does, I'm assuming, fit on the Sanction X body. Yeah, it's a little bit of a tight fit, but it fits. It's not my favorite look on this body. Also, because he didn't really look like this on this body. But if I want to pop that off I am curious to see how it looks on this head, or on this body. Oh, that fits real nice. That actually looks really good. Oh boy, that head looks really good on this body. Man, that looks awesome. And like I said, it doesn't have the earpiece, which I think is my least favorite part about this head sculpt. That looks good. I think I gotta buy a second cable, a second Zabu Wave cable to really customize it. We're gonna have some options. I might be showing off a customized cable at some point. Just be aware that that's probably coming. But anyway, let me put everybody's heads back on their regular bodies. There we go. Here's that. That one actually feels looser now that I put that on. I hope I didn't screw anything up. Let's see. We're gonna pop this one off. I'm more impressed that all the skin tones seem to match as well, because sometimes between releases of characters, the skin tones don't match. So I am impressed that they all do. There we go. All right, so here we go. There are the 3 cables. Listen, I'm not an expert. I'm not saying that my word is law here. What do you think? Which is your favorite cable? Which is going to be your main display cable? I would love to know. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. And until next time, I've been Dan. You've all been pretty awesome. I'll see you around.
Well, there we go. What did you think of this video? Sound off in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Remember, we are making a push to get to 700 subscribers here on the channel. If we do that before the HasLab Giant Man arrives, I will be giving away the old Toy Biz Giant Man Build-A-Figure that you've seen on my shelf and things like that. So hit subscribe, leave a comment, hit like if you're so inclined, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.